Finally, I have become a pure digital being. My body has transcended the physical plane. My mind has risen beyond the heavens. I have become enlightened. My thoughts are no longer bonded by the finite. I have become infinite. I have become supreme. And I will live forever. Excuse me, this is a personal computer occupied. Excuse me, what are you doing? What are you searching? No, don't click on that. What are you doing? Oh, God! No! This game is not working! Help! Hello, Internet! How y'all doing? I'm Ricardo, the Cynical Critic. I hope you all had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
I'm late for a very important date.
As for me, I spent the first week of my new year in quarantine as I caught a case of the sniffles. And during the 2 days that I spent going all cuffity, sneezy, I decided to watch something new. And rather than watch that new video game adaptation from Netflix, I instead decided to watch the freshly completed Genlack Season 2. Thank you, your pity is deeply appreciated. Okay, maybe some of you are right and I shouldn't be so negative on the outset, as I wasn't so nice to the first season. And we are trying to be more progressive and accepting these days. Besides, I'm the one always saying that things can get better, and this time the show was picked up by HBO Max. So more money must mean a better product, right? But first, let me explain the situation and the show. Genlock was a Rooster Teeth exclusive 3D animation, created by Gray Haddock and starring some of Hollywood's, talents. The show deals with the concept of digitizing one's mind and what it means to be human without a physical body, just like a crap ton of other movies and shows have already done. But Genlock has a progressive element by having a diverse cast of characters taking place in a futuristic version of Earth that's on the brink of destruction as two warring factions, the US polity and the Foreign Union, fight for control of America. Cause it's always about us. No other country is as important in the modern age. USA! And the diverse band of characters that help fight off the Union are known as Team Genlock, comprised of the bunny waifu, the Arab girl, Mr. No Habla Inglese man, the gender bender, and Michael B. Jordan. I know that's not their names in the show, but to be honest, they weren't really characterized enough in the first season to be all that memorable. But who knows, maybe that has changed this time around. So, in order to help you understand what I thought about it, let's go over Genlock Season 2. Okay, so we start with our characters being both physically and mentally tired. I think 90% of America can immediately relate to that. The Genlock gang are now back with the polity. I say that because I think that they were at loggerheads the last time we saw them, or that's what it seemed like in the comic that was supposed to take place between these two seasons. Oh yeah, Genlock had a comic. I mention that now because it basically has no further relevance on the show. Anyways, the team is physically tired due to the constant battling they've been doing with the Union's giant mechs piloted by the evil Michael clones. And they're mentally tired from having to rely on something called mind melding, where they link their minds to share memories and skills to help get them out of trouble. Basically their unique power of friendship moments. However, MBJ is against using it as he's nothing more than a brain on a flash drive right now, having given up his body in the last season. Don't worry, that gets contradicted at the end. And each time they mind meld, he's afraid of losing more of himself to their memories. Granted, they really only use this skill in the beginning of the season, and by the end of the first episode, Michael just goes, f it, and just gets over his fears. So, yeah, that was for nothing. However, they do wonder why the enemy is attacking them. Took them long enough. The audience has been asking this since season 1, people. So they go to a literal Deus Ex Machina to find out. And then in the next episode, we're suddenly in the past. Holy piss buckets, Flashback Phantom. A little warning next time. Well, get out your neck braces, otherwise you're gonna get whiplash for how much this episode jumps back and forth between two time periods. You see, there's this city in the middle of the Middle East where apparently they discovered that a living nano blobby thing existed hidden in an ancient artifact that now allows them to basically do anything. Yeah, this is the lazy and very inaccurate version of nanotech. Basically the sci-fi version of
magic.
How does this thing work? Where did it come from? Is it alive or just a force of nature? Can it be trusted? All these are good questions, which is why the show will never address them. In any case, makers of Genlock, probably best to stay away from that area in real life. Those guys aren't exactly known for accepting people who mock or misuse their sacred religion. Speaking of which, we are told that these people are radical, atheistic, scientific, religious, pacifist, cultist zealots. Yes, I understand that half of that contradicts the other half, but just go with it. It's better than what we got last season. They also are desperate to share their religion with the whole world so that they may too ascend along with them who believe, and may God damn the rest. And it is here we learn that the unprovoked attack on New York in the first season was actually a retaliation. You see, the polity, which I think is this show's version of the US military, was worried that the Union would use this nanotech as a weapon, and decided to strike first by blowing up the sacred site. Why they also decided to carpet bomb half the city is, well, beyond me. But plot contrivance has gotta contrive. However, the team ain't happy to hear what their side did, which only puts more mental strain on them all. Michael, for instance, seems to be having a bit of a psychological crisis. Methinks, my boy, that you recreating your old apartment, complete with digital NPCs of your dead mom and sister, isn't helping the matter, but you do you, I guess. Bunny Waifu makes him a plate of cookies to help cheer him up. Not sure why, considering that he's purely digital and thus has no taste buds. But after he declines them, she gets all whiny that no one cares about her on this team and that she's going to run away after the next mission. I'm sorry, what? You know the dude's having issues as he looks like a crackhead in the middle of withdrawal, but you're mad at him for snapping at you. Wow. You know, I thought her character was just annoying in the last season, as she seemed to be only added for fan service. But now you're starting to actually get on my nerves, you jailbait bunny. Another person having identity issues is Mr. No Habla Inglese Man, as his metaverse avatar is having, body fat distribution issues. He goes to Bunny Waifu for help as she's the supposed smart one. The f*** is that? But she tells him that it's not a glitch, it's his subconscious view of himself. Sweetheart, even if it was, it would not change his preferred avatar. I mean, I'm assuming you don't think that you're a bunny in real life.
Well, maybe she is, Ricardo. Don't be a bigot.
Whatever, he still needs some help, and who better to give him that than someone who's currently having their own mental illness and issues with identity. Okay, that's like sending somebody with chronic depression to talk a guy down from jumping off a building. You know that won't end well, and it kinda doesn't. See, after a little chat and seeing him get all excited for his favorite macho anime, Genderbender figures out that the reason that he's having these issues is because he's so filled with masculinity. Just so full of masculinity that it is becoming poisonous to him, becoming toxic. Toxic to him because he's too full of masculinity, and he really needs to stop that. As a root cause of this, he shares a memory of his father letting himself get bullied by his boss, but she claims that his father was brave because he let his boss yell at him to keep his job, where her father used to beat her mother up. Woman, dude, whatever the hell you're calling yourself this nanosecond, my man was having a moment of vulnerability, and you just went, well, I had it worse. Plus, I highly doubt his father was brave or strong, as I'm pretty sure he was, as my friend puts it, the kind of husband you see in a NTR Lutai. Whatever, your emotional moment here is cliched as possible, so just get to the part where you guys kiss, and there it is. Now, this scene is kinda off-putting, not just because of the creepy CG, but because while they're having this emotional moment, we're also seeing next door Michael is basically having a full-blown mental breakdown, as his suddenly appeared boogeyman is also getting a little too personal with him. I kind of laughed at both how the situation looked with his demon trying to become butt buddies with him and how it literally looked. I mean, it's almost like they Gary modded some assets into the show, as the door the boogeyman comes from looks like it belongs in Doom Eternal, and the boogeyman himself is practically someone's OC for their Death Note fanfiction. Anyways, it's boring as hell, so let's move on. Hey, you two, are you done kissing him?
Jesus fucking Christ! What the fuck?
Anyways, thank you for answering my son's session request, Dr. Mindbender. Yeah, you can leave the bill with my secretary. Just make sure that you address it to the Warner Brothers. Once again, thanks. Sorry about that. Not to get too much into details, because I really don't want to relive that. But needless to say, the following scene was one of the most horrifying ones I've seen in my entire life. And I was strapped to a chair and forced to watch Two Girls, One Cup. Classic. Basically, it was a reminder that this is airing on HBO Max. So, since it was clearly what made Game of Thrones so popular, they had to shove in some sensual scenes. Even though, practically thanks to the CGI, the first was awkward as hell to watch, and the second, well, get ready to pay for my therapy bills, HBO. And what's worse is that it didn't even amount to anything, because in the next scene, it all goes to waste, as the character and development become irrelevant for the rest of the show. Suffice to say, one of them gets severely injured in battle, and it shakes up the entire team, and then Buddy Waifu suddenly decides to up and peace out. I'm sorry, what? Your team is in shambles, physically and emotionally damaged, and you decide to just pack up and leave? That's like a customer in a restaurant blowing chunks out of both ends all over the tables, and you're like,
Sorry, my shift ended 2 seconds ago, so screw you guys, I'm going home.
oh, you fucking insensitive, selfish whore! And what's worse is that she decides to run away to the Union! To the frickin' cultists! She complains about how she misses her mommy and daddy, and no one understands her pain, and everyone is just mean to her, and no one noticed her new hairstyle, and boo to the hoo-hoo-hoo. And then some old lady's like,
Yeah, life is hard. You should go to the church and ascend yourself.
and she does! I'm sorry, what? Yeah, she wasn't even manipulated or forced or anything. She just pops over there and ascends herself in a scene that was more hilarious than heartbreaking. Oh, sorry about that. But that's what showed up right after, and I almost, as the kids put it, rough 'em aloud. After which, I pleaded with my computer screen, please don't come back. Please stay away for good. Please let the voice actress get fired from these shitty roles and find something better. Now, as for the rest of the team, they're currently more pissed off with the military than the turncoat that dumped their asses. As during their battle, the military unleashed their secret weapon, which turned out to be some additional giant-ass robots piloted by the clone amalgamations of Team Genlock that they use as suicide bombers. I'm sorry, what? Millions of dollars to create one of these clones, hundreds of millions of dollars to create a single Jaeger, and then you just use it to blow something up? Holy piss buckets! This is the US military! Anyways, the team goes rogue and isn't immediately blown out of the sky, but instead of doing their own thing, they decide that it is the perfect time to go on a mission to destroy their old boss's replacements for them. Jeez, talk about petty. Also, you guys do remember that you are currently at war. Let's first beat the guys that want to ascend all humanity before fighting amongst ourselves. Also, not sure if that's the best idea, since Michael's practically having a full-blown mental meltdown. But somehow they managed to break into the warehouse. However, before Michael can suicide bomb the suicide bombers, out of nowhere his old girlfriend shows up, and who's with her? His sister! Yeah, it turns out that she and his mom survived. I'm bringing that up now because it has no further impact on the show, as Michael basically ignores her so that he can raise the roof, baby! But what's that? Up in the sky? Is it a flock of birds? Is it a swarm of bees? Is it a cluster of plot-contrived bullshit? The latter, yes. Because it's super nano-enhanced bunny waifu! I fucking called it! Sorry for shouting, both to you, the viewer, and my local library where I watched this. But I'm just repeating what I said the moment I saw this horse hockey. Anyway, Super Bunny Waifu explains to them all that it was a good thing that what she did, and they should do it too, and join me and become one with the net. And I just kept saying, don't do it! Don't do it! Cause seriously, you believe this? How the hell do you know this is the real Bunny Waifu? God, you guys are stupid. She then tells Michael to just make friends with his butt-buggy boogeyman, and Michael goes, okay. Wow, that just came out of nowhere. Along with their next problem, as they are then attacked by what I can only describe as a giant handsome Jack robot. I am only slightly exaggerating here. It was sent by the polity, and I can't imagine how the hell they were able to build such a thing in the middle of a war they were supposedly losing. And it's being piloted by Sinclair himself. Oh, who the hell is Sinclair? Well, if you remember, he's that guy at the very beginning of season 1 that got his mind fried, and we weren't sure if he was a spy or a clone or whatever because he briefly appeared in the end credits. Yeah, I bring him up now because he really has no further impact on the show. Anyways, they need to get the hell out of there and get to New York. So they basically jam a steering wheel into the building and literally drive the thing away. They literally Looney Tunes that shit. As for the handsome Jack robot, Super Bunny Waifu manages to disconnect Sinclair, who by the way is gay now, because representation, and thus is freed from the polity's control and goes on a killing spree. Dude, I know you decided not to fight for either side, but you do realize that most of the soldiers that you're slaughtering are just people fighting to protect their families, right? Sorry, Timmy, but mommy's not coming home because Sinclair had to make the polity pay. Anyways, the team reached New York City, and just as the Union uses the doomsday weapon they said that they totally wouldn't use. Pinky promises and everything. However, the turncoat lady that helped them had a failsafe and deactivates the nano swarm. But I guess she must have made a rounding error or forgot a semicolon somewhere, because instead the swarm starts clumping together, taking some of each side's cannon fodder robots with it, fusing them together into a giant snot monster. Yep, the thing literally pulls an Akira. It even eats the cult leader guy. And you might think that would lead to him merging with the monster and going all, I have finally become a god! But no, that would have actually been pretty cool. Instead, they just have the monster smash a few buildings. However, Super Bunny Waifu has an idea as she tells Genlock to join me and enter your next stage of evolution. And I'm still saying, don't do it! But they don't listen to me, and the team ascends, and then they use their new nano powers to create their own super giant-ass robots, and together with the handsome Jack robot, they defeat the booger monster, and the show just ends. Again, I'm only slightly exaggerating. The gang do talk about how this new form can save all humanity from the super climate change, because for some reason we had to squeeze that into the show, but they would first need to track down the Unicode stolen by the President of the United States. Oh yeah, the code that would have made everyone Genlock compatible was stolen by this president guy, who's only president because he was a greedy businessman who just wanted to make more money. I have a strange feeling that's supposed to represent someone. But I'm having a hard time putting my finger on who, as 80% of all politicians are just in it for the money. And that was Genlock Season 2! And given my new positivity towards the show, what did I think about it? I should have just watched High Guardian Spice. Oh yeah, it was that bad. And the only reason that I didn't was because everyone else was shitting on that show, and as I looked at the mountain of crap, I was like, what's even the point? However, I should probably try for some positivity and state what I did like about the show. Well, I occasionally liked some of the plot twists, and I did enjoy when they tried to break new ground by talking about some of the sensitive topics. It's just too bad that they sucked every time they did. Oh well, I tried. Back to being a cynical bastard that I am. And look, I actually wanted this season to turn out well, because it would have been a win-win. The show would have won for being good, and I would have won for being proven right for once that even though there can be a rocky start, things can get better. But they didn't, and instead, it's almost like the show got worse in every major category. For instance, let's start with the main hitch of this show's premise: the giant robot fights. I think I said in the last season that they were awful, and that still stands. There's no weight or impact, and I think the animation's even worse than last season. The giant robots move like they're nothing more than regular guys in light power armor. The fight scenes are boring and predictable and lack any sense of fun, and none of the robots have an ounce of originality. Take Pacific Rim, for instance. the first movie. Like many great one-offs, we don't acknowledge the shitty sequels. While it didn't have a great plot or amazing characters, it knew how to make the kaiju fights awesome and impactful by making sure there was a sense of weight and mass to the giant robots. However, even the ground rarely cracks when the Genlock mechs are jumping all over the place, let alone any impact with each other. Even the visuals were really lazy. Half the time the characters are stiff as a board, and the other half they're just really weird to look at. The animation on the children were especially creepy. Remember, this show had the backing of HBO Max, and its first season did so well that it got a second season. I mean, its creator was kicked off the project, and the original owning company had to sell off the IP, and barely anyone even cares about the show, but yeah, Genlock is so amazing. Now, I talk about the story, but it's all over the place, and in many places there are plot points that are just dropped or go nowhere and mean nothing. And many times the story seems to drive the characters' decisions rather than the characters working alongside the plot. And as the show went on, the contrivances and manufactured moments and emotions just got worse. Like they knew that they weren't going to get a third season and were desperate to finish it all up. And after this, I'm not sure anybody would want another season. Not to mention that too much time was left on particular progressive politics. Now, I'm all for interesting insights and conflicts with our characters and themes, but they don't do that. They just beat us over the head with it and then leave like an upset girlfriend. Hey, you might like it because it's representing you and your freakish ways, but how does that actually improve our characters and their interactions? Speaking of which, none of them fared any better, and in fact, for many, it just got worse. Take Chase, the leader of the team. Supposedly, he got over his issues with being a brain on a microchip in the last season, but then they bring it back only to not really give us a proper resolution. His emotional and mental struggle is as forced as how they concluded it. I think it was done to flesh out the evil clone's background, as it really wasn't mentioned in the previous season, but they really don't say anything new, and what they do say is a bit confusing. Sad, considering that Michael B really could use something to get him out of the B-list character actor that he's found himself in. At least he fared better than Yasmin, the Arab girl. I call her that not only because that's what she is, but it's also all the show really gives her. I guess they were trying to make her the emotional connection between Chase and the team, and perhaps even a second love interest. But outside a few moments, she's basically a blank, forgettable slate, which is a real shame because she was once part of the Union, and she could have had some sort of internal-external conflict with having to fight them. But no such luck. Now, I'll admit, I've been a bit mean when it comes to Cammy, and I really didn't want to be, but they really wrecked her character by focusing too much on her. Yep, the complete opposite of Yasmin, but often jumping to the other extreme is just as bad. I believe they were trying to make her more important to the story than last time, but due to their failure in writing her character, she kept coming across as whiny and selfish, making her comeback feel undeserved and contrived. Now, to be honest, I kinda like Kazu for his overly masculine nature and love of samurai content. I felt like he was the one who might connect most with the mech genre loving crowd. However, in this time and age, those are considered negative qualities. Worse was that if they were gonna go this route with him, they were gonna go full retard and force some aspects that were never part of his character and don't make any sense given how quickly they manifested. In short, his character was literally sacrificed on the altar of progressivism. And now for Valentina, the gender bender. And you know what? Even though this is going to get me more hate again, I don't care. I'm going to say it. I don't like this character. Pause to allow the gender-obsessed freaks to cry in the comment section below. And embarrass them all with my follow-up. Because they ruined her character. Yeah. Thought I was going to hate on her just because she was that kind of character. But not unlike Snapdragon in High on Guardian Spice, it is because she is this kind of character that we hate the show's representation of them. They took an interesting character with an interesting background and an interesting aspect to them, and then they shoved her into a tiny little box of representation where they can show off just how progressive they are before drop kicking her out the window. You assholes! You don't deserve any kind of praise. You don't deserve this character. You deserve to suck on the dick of mediocrity. Shh. It's okay, sweetheart. they can't hurt you anymore. After all, it's not likely they're gonna get another season. I mean, this character could have been really interesting, especially in this world where minds can literally be taken out of their bodies and put into new ones. We could have learned through her how one pushes past all that superficial aspects of one's identity. It could have been awesome seeing her declare in a flashback that she's done with all this confusion. She doesn't care what's between her legs. She doesn't care what people think of her. She knows who she is. She's rough on the exterior with a soft inside. A fighter that won't back down or give up. A cold-blooded assassin seeking redemption. A friend who's loyal to the very end. Hell, I was even rooting for her relationship with Kazu since season 1. Apart from their similarities, it would have been a cool Beauty and the Beast kind of moment as the controlled and honorable Kazu and the open and free-spirited Val connected, sharing and helping the other learn these traits between them. But no, the characters weren't really characters, but rather either restricted archetypes or contrived analogs. And with all that said, I'm not sure what there is to like about this show. Again, it isn't like I didn't try to enjoy it, but there were just too many issues that my enjoyment couldn't push past. In the end, if I had to look through it in a positive light, I'd say that it was passable at best. For a quick watch if you're not expecting anything special, cause you're not really gonna pay attention anyways. However, as for me, I really didn't enjoy Genlock Season 2, and I'm not gonna waste another second on it. And instead, I'm gonna go and watch Arcane using my cousin's Netflix account. Hooray for family connections and easy to crack passwords. But what did you guys think? Did any of you watch Genlock Season 2? Do you think that it could have been better? Or are you currently writing to tell me how much of a patriarchal, transphobic asshat I am just before you report my video for hate speech? If the latter, just remember, spell check your 14-page paper and use proper grammar. It's the best way to keep me from laughing at you further. Anyways, till next time, I'm Ricardo, the cynical critic. And yeah, while I might not have liked this show, and it's not likely to get another season, I'll take it as a good example to learn what not to do. But hey, while a first impression may be good or bad, you won't know until you give it a view. I'll catch you all next time. Doodles!